here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk, Tuesday night, the 31st day of the month of July. We are now live. The clock is ticking, and I'm looking forward to finding out what's going on. And more importantly, came across a lot of great articles that I didn't get a chance to actually do a news story on. So I figured we can talk about them tonight, and had to do with the increasing amount of homelessness in this country as well as neighboring countries. So I have a couple articles I want to share with you that really shines some light on the idea that, you know, in regards to the article I did the other day, in regards to how the middle class or the hardest working portion of society is being squeezed out due to the increasing cost of living as well as just the lack of disposable income. And the result of a lot of that is people are losing everything and either staying in their vehicles or they're flat out just going to the curbs. And more importantly, it's really becoming a problem out in California. And so if I have any California viewers out there that can relate or understand what I'm talking about, feel free to call in because I would love to get more take on that. And so I have Will, it says 58,000 homeless in LA. And so that is a real problem. And it's not just in our country here, it's becoming more of a problem all around the globe. And of course, it's no coincidence at all that it's all tied into our monetary system and the fact that the system is broken at the end of the day. And a lot of people are feeling the impacts of just basically, you know, coming up on the short end of the stick. So other than that, as we give it a couple more seconds before allowing more other people to chime in, any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you are watching us from. And as you see the number above my head, 833 Live RTD, call in. I would love to hear what's on your mind, whether it's about this homeless situation or whatever else might be happening out here that I wasn't able to cover today. And so also another thing is I know as we get more viewers and more people that are interested in sharing their thoughts, a lot of people tend to call in throughout the day. And so I'm constantly getting voicemails on people who are probably not able to tune in via when we go live. But if you are someone who catching this episode after we're no longer streaming live, feel free to just leave a comment, pose a question in the comment section, and I'll try to get to it throughout the day. And so definitely I want to answer as many questions as I can. And so more than likely there's becoming too many voicemails to actually listen to them all and try to address them within this short time of going live. So any questions, let us know down below. And so we got Nicholas from Florida. Welcome, my friend Chris. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing, man? Homeless crisis is nothing compared to where we will be in another 18 months. Pat, that is a very good point. And that's why I really wanted to today touch on it. And in particular, I have a couple articles that I grabbed from the mainstream news that came out over the last week. And it talks about one of the solutions that the Democratic Party is proposing out in San Francisco area is to basically look to tax or to basically tax profitable businesses in that area, predominantly those in the Silicon Valley, whether it be the Facebooks, the Ubers or Amazons, those that are really, doing well, to basically putting the load on them to generate, as one of the articles is going to say here, close to, I think it said 50 million or 300 million, somewhere in between there, that they can receive in tax revenue from these companies. But yet then the question will be exactly what are you going to do with those funds? I mean, because people are not on the streets because they want to. It's more so because whatever they were doing prior to is no longer available, or they made some decisions along the way or some bad choices along the way that probably led to that as well. So taxing corporations to get revenue to then build a shelter doesn't really guarantee that people actually will receive that help. So, you know, it's interesting with the solutions that are going to be thrown out in the next couple of months in regards to this homeless situation as it continues to increase. And then more importantly, and I got an article here where it talks about how more people now, especially in California, which seems to be leading the way in this squeezing out of the middle class, pretty much putting everyone in poverty, because, you know, even 100K nowadays is considered poverty if you're in certain areas in California, and that's, you know, that's a crying shame. And so a lot of people are choosing to stay in their vehicles. So I've actually seen a lot of YouTube videos of people out there living in their cars, working 2 or 3 jobs and still living in a car. I can't understand it really, because my thought is if you have any type of skill set or any type of education that could, you know, allow you to be of value to some corporation or something of that nature, you know, apart from having a lot of family, I would have left California a long time ago. But I guess other people don't feel that way, so they would rather sleep in the car or out in the streets. So, but anyway, any questions, feel free to pose them in the chat or call in. Phone line is available, and I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts. So I'm going to actually just jump right into some of the articles. And so, so Tom, some of the articles I'm going to touch on is the fact that the very first one, let me go ahead and switch my screen here, is to do with what's happening in San Francisco. And so this video here, I'm gonna see if I can play it, and I'll deal with the restrictions on the content. But no, actually I won't play it. So I'll put this, or you can just Google. You can just Google San Francisco's homeless crisis hurts tourism. And so people are eating out of garbage cans. So this video here, it's 2 minutes, but it gives you a very in-depth look into what's happening there. And part of the whole poverty issue is the fact that a lot of these homeless people, and I'll see if I can, a lot of these people who are on the streets, they're desperate and times are rough. So drug addiction is becoming a big problem. And so there are syringes all throughout the city. And so they take pictures of this and they actually walk through the streets. And so here's actually a picture here. And so it just shows a side street where somebody just, a variety of people just dump their syringes, which are given to the people for free. So they actually have programs set up where you can go get your syringes to shoot up or whatever, and then they just dump them. And then they have a 17-man team that goes throughout the city, which they spend $600,000-$700,000 to go pick up all these needles after they're giving away free for people to shoot up and then drop. So just, poor allocation of funds. You can afford to give people free needles, but you can't afford to put that money to good use to give people some options. And all this, in my opinion, starts with, education, man, being aware and being informed and giving people, skill sets they can actually use. And that's the biggest problem. The school system is to blame in this, in my opinion, because a lot of people aren't working with information that's even relevant nowadays, nevertheless able to feed themselves, nevertheless a family. So, yeah, but here's a great article here. So I want to encourage you guys to take time to read it. And then I'm going to go over to the next one here that I wanted to cover. And this one here gives you a good idea of how things have changed in Vancouver over the last couple of months. And so they do the Google Maps where they give you the street view, the before and after. And so it talks about here, what's the name of this? It says, before and after photos show how a major city's homeless crisis can spiral out of control. And this was as of last week. But, it shows you the before picture of the Google Street View. So here's the before in 2015, doing this whole economic expansion that we're in. And then here's 2017. So we went from nobody on the streets to we having porta potties on the street now because things are picking up out there as far as activity. Here we have another neighborhood in Wally neighborhood, shopping street. And so this is 2015. Here we are in 2017. And then it goes on and on with more pictures. Here we have a street. It says in this photo below, people are sleeping in front of shops on a main thoroughfare in the Gaston neighborhood. So here we have a shopping area, nobody. Next one, crowded with people. So look at the difference in the streets. Look at the curb. You can always tell, you can tell a lot about a city by looking at the curb. How do people, treat their streets and predominantly the curb? So look at the curb here, nice and clean. Then here we go now, look at this, just jam-packed with trash. Yeah. So here's another picture, 2016, a park that's empty. Here we have a park that's full. So this is what's happening out there, man. I got a couple more articles, but I want to actually get into, get some of your thoughts on this matter, because this is something worthy of talking about, of which, of course, the mainstream news don't really shine a lot of light on it in regards to broadcasting this stuff over the mainstream media, other than probably California talks about it a lot and Vancouver talks about it because it's a problem in those areas. And so we got a lot of activity in the chat, so I'm missing out on some things. Let me get to a couple of people here. It says, if the military get enough of a yearly increase and to end homeless is a damn manufactured crisis. Yeah, Tom, that's a good point. The military budget, we're always trying to defend our nation with this damn big, expensive military expenditures, where a lot of that money could be utilized on infrastructure / helping out our educational system, because our educational system is very outdated. So here's a way to tell is how outdated it is. I think about, the information I received in schooling, and you probably can agree that, the information you received 20, 30, how many ever years ago. It's good to say, apart from most schools now, and it's probably private schools, I can speak to that. Private schools offer their kids access to computers or laptops and things of that nature, where they're teaching kids through utilizing technology. Whereas in a lot of schools, due to the funding, they're still using that old model of, having a lecturer in front of the classroom with 30, 40 kids in the classroom, giving them the same message at the same time, not taking into account that all the kids can't process it or retain it the same way everyone does. There's about five or six kids in the class that's well ahead of that message, but then you got the rest of 35 that's behind that. So just that model of itself is outdated. Then we are entering into this technology phase of the blockchain and the whole crypto space, and how that right there could be of use to a lot of this old, outdated educational system. But I doubt that any of this information that's new and relevant will be inputted into our education system, because, it's just it seems like our politicians and our education system, as well as just the way things are done in general, is always 10, 20 years behind, it seems. Whereas in China and in the Eastern area, those kids are far advanced as far as knowing a variety of languages, as well as technology, stuff like that. So, yeah, we're falling behind the 8 ball big time on our education system. It says rent is too high everywhere. I do agree. It says Linda says, hi Mike, from near Orange County, California, more homeless in the civic center areas, never beaches like Santa Monica. Near beaches like Santa Monica, really. So we have someone who lives in Orange County saying that the civic center areas and near Santa Monica, the beaches out are crowded. So Linda, if you don't mind, if you are in that area, if you are down in that region, feel free to take some pictures of what's happening there, because I would love to post it and share it and talk about it. So take a couple pictures, and then if you don't mind, send them to me via email or post them on the Facebook Rethinking the Dollar page, and I'll share it and let people see what's going on out there, because all we're getting is just some couple stories here, but I'm assuming it's a lot worse than just what we're told here. It says, just watch your interview with Reluctant Practice. Great job. Thank you for all your work. Yeah, Fiona, my pleasure. Yeah, so for those that haven't had a chance or may not follow, I had an interview with Reluctant with Mr. Dunnigan on Reluctant Preppers, and so he just posted it, and it has a lot to do with retirement and how I'm not expecting much, and so in my opinion, most people shouldn't be expecting much, because there's going to be a lot of people taking haircuts when it comes to their retirement. So I talked about a lot of stuff there. So, it might be worth your while. I'm also posted here probably tomorrow as well. It says, San Francisco needs to clean the streets. I do agree. Some of the homeless are being secretly disappeared in the middle of the night. Wow. Yeah, and that's another thing, man. The safety of the people who are in situations where they didn't imagine or foresee themselves being homeless and out in the streets. Someone commented here about, the safety aspect of a lot of them disappearing in the night, for, God knows what, and for what purposes and what, evil reasons. It says the average apartment rent is $1,500 to $1,800 in Southern California. Who can afford it? Yeah, that's probably, $1,500, $1,800 for a 1-bedroom. Yeah. Yeah. So Jordan, the great point there. So I mentioned earlier about in San Francisco, the politicians looking to basically add a tax to the mega corporations in the area. And so the point is that, once you increase taxes and cut into profitability for those companies, they're basically going to uproot out of Silicon Valley. and move overseas, and there's going to be 1 million, 2, 3 million worth of engineers, software developers, and all those people who, you know, could probably relocate easy and get work. But it's going to be a lot of people in those Silicon Valley area that will be homeless as well, because, you know, a lot of people can't afford it already. But yet when the jobs leave, then of course I'm sure housing will go down as well. So that might not be a bad trade-off if all those mega corporations leave, even though they're going to take jobs with them. But I guarantee you, San Francisco, the housing market, you know, will be more affordable for those that have jobs out there. It says the Treasury Exchange Stabilization Fund is a deep state in part. It says they are the ones pushing the $100 bills overseas. Our government prints counterfeit 100 so they don't come back to the U.S. Yeah, that's Pat. That's a very good viewpoint there. If you come across any information, feel free to share that with me, email-wise, or post it to the Facebook page. Love to read up on that and report about that one. Edward said, we are all a crash away from being homeless. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. The local government does not want to stop the problem, only make it worse, makes them lots of money under the table. Yeah, and that's the thing with this tax they will pose on the businesses. It's good to say that a lot of those funds won't actually reach the projects that they're talking about they're going to implement. So that's the problem, man, with these politicians nowadays. You can't trust them, but our system is designed up to still vote them in. So I look forward to one day, and I'm assuming it'll probably come within the next, you know, couple years, but having open and transparent voting opportunities for the public, to where we don't have to worry about, you know, faulty machines and people arguing over not, you know, whether or not it was the numbers were forged and all those type of things. And so I like the idea that a lot of countries, smaller countries, are testing the open ledger aspect of being able to do actual voting through the blockchain. Or I would be satisfied with just people being able to use their phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you actually have to use your actual telephone number to be registered with one of the major carriers to vote, which makes it easier. I'm sure they're still going to find ways to make fraud out of it, but we'll worry about that later. It says moving jobs to Texas. It says you and your family are going to be okay. Yeah, man. So anything else happening out there that I'm not aware of? Because I think this California situation is just the tip of the iceberg, and it will find a way to work itself into the Midwestern area, and it's going to start on the coast and work its way in my opinion, in some form or another. So the question I want to ask you guys, since, you know, we're talking about the homelessness and how it will impact us all, because it has to do with the opportunity to work. And so if there's no jobs, or if the wages aren't keeping up with inflation, if it gets out of hand, what are some preparations? What are some things people can do now? Or what are some alternatives, rather? I like talking about alternatives to situations like this. And so anybody got any ideas, feel free to share with me those ideas. And one of the things that I've been a fan of, and I had an opportunity years ago, and I really regret not taking advantage of it, was having a chance to actually buy an RV. And so I had a chance to buy an RV, and basically at the time, just like, I'm not going to use it. So now I actually want to go acquire an RV just to be able to utilize for some weekend getaways out of the city, but also as a backup to having a, you know, somewhat of a temporary roof over my head in case need be. And so I definitely will be looking into those things in the future, especially RVs. I'm sure you can get one of those things pretty cheap now, so that's something I'm gonna look into as an alternative. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Jordan.
How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, I was actually listening into your show.
Okay.
You were you were talking about the homeless problem.
Yeah.
And I know, like, here in Kalamazoo, it's a big homeless problem here as well. Like, there's a lot of people just sleeping in the parks.
Really?
Stuff like that. And you got a lot of the police just picking these people up, taking them to, like, the county jail. And if they can't fit them in the county jail, you know, they end up right back out on the street. So it's just a perpetual stupidity. But I know me and my brother, what we've been actually working on, we actually bought one of those master nodes to mine Dash, one of the cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And I know I have a friend of mine that's actually one of the city commissioners in Kalamazoo. And and I actually been discussing with him about possibly setting some master nodes up around town. You could put them on light poles and have them solar power generated to mine the Dash, where it could possibly have a lot of the homeless people that's living around the city possibly like clean up trash and stuff and get paid with those the Dash coins.
Interesting. So yes, I'm familiar with the whole masternode aspect, but yet are you required to have a certain amount of Dash in order to actually retain or to start a masternode, or how does that work?
Yeah, so you got to have 1,000. You have to keep 1,000 Dash in the masternode, but you can mine more than 1,000. But you have to keep a minimum of 1,000.
Interesting. So to have so that right there requires a little, some funding off the ground there, because we're looking at Dash. I think it's about $2.15 right now. So we're looking at a couple dollars to get that up and running. But so you're trying to suggest that the city get involved as far as acquiring some, or get into the crypto space in general to fund some of that stuff?
Yeah, so pretty much what I've been discussing with my colleague of mine, I was actually open to putting money up as well, because like I said, me and my brother, we already have a masternode.
Okay.
We mine at home.
Yeah.
We were just the idea of having them like the solar power generated, because we actually use a lot of power by mining the Dash, but it's worth a while because we actually make a profit by doing it. But the thing is, if you have it solar powered, you can actually mine them all day and night instead of just having them in your house mining them.
Yeah.
These will be going towards the city for the people that's homeless, because you could put these people to work and pay them with Dash.
Yeah.
And it just don't have to be Dash. There's other cryptos that have the same type of infrastructure.
Yeah.
But Dash is one of the first ones to actually have this.
Interesting. Yeah, that right there would be a solution. So that plays an idea that there's a lot of opportunity that can be explored for people of high means and no means when it comes to the blockchain. And so I do foresee a time where cities will get involved as far as probably doing their own situation with taxes and just basically minimizing some of the overhead when it comes to the record keeping and whatnot within a city and a state. So I do believe that blockchain stuff will eventually work its way into the system. Now, when it comes to from a monetary aspect, then that's when I think we're going to have some problems with the federal government going to step in and not really be happy about that, because I mean people won't be utilizing the dollar as much if you can pay people in Dash and spend your Dash in your city or whatnot, or whatever coin that might be popular at the time. So yeah,
you can convert the Dash. You can convert the Dash into cash.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like when it comes to like the federal government, we have to eventually get beyond the federal government and really push the federal government back to its minimum state, because the reason being, if people just look around them, the federal government is really not doing anything for people. And then based on that, like you have a lot of people out here that's getting these government checks, but really you don't have no management behind this. That's why, like when you were talking about the schooling system, I dropped out of school, because the thing is, I wasn't learning anything, and you could ask me what I learned in school today, I still wouldn't know what I learned, because the thing is, all that stuff was irrelevant until I start picking up books and start reading about financial education. It's like that gave me direction in life.
Yeah.
I'm 26 years old, and I'm actually well off than a lot of people out here.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely sounds like you're doing pretty good if you have a master node. So you're doing something good with that, my friend. So keep doing what you do. Thank you for calling in, my friend. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. You have a good night.
All right, you too. Be good.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. We have another caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Oops. I think I hung up on you. So feel free to call back. And so, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's finding options and finding opportunities for people to get involved in this economy, because there's an abundance of opportunities when you put your mind towards it. And so there's always something someone can do. And someone here put, universal basic income could help. And the problem with that is that includes more government, involvement. And so one of my big things is, if the government giveth, the government can take away. So that's another handout, and handout won't help you rise or elevate your life at all. because it's going to keep you right where you're at. So if you're getting 4, 5, 6, whatever you're getting from a handout, it won't give you a hand up as far as help elevating your life. So yeah, I am not a fan of universal basic income, but I'm a firm believer that it will be rolled out as a Band-Aid to cover up the immediate problems, but it will not be a long-term solution because it's our government taking on more debt, because they're either going to borrow it or they're going to tax it from those who have it. So either way, someone's going to be on the short end of the stick. So with that being the case, UBI is not a viable solution, in my opinion. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Pat, and I'm from Alabama. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Pat. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing just fine.
What's on your mind tonight?
I've been hearing a lot of crypto talk. Enjoy that. Enjoy you're talking about gold. Of course, you're not talking about silver near enough.
I make sure to mention it there. And so when I say monetary, I need to start using the words monetary metal, so you understand that anything that's labeled monetary and is a metal, predominantly the two we're most familiar with, as well. Some people have been getting on my head for not mentioning platinum, palladium, but I personally haven't dipped and dabbled. But yet anything on the element chart will work with that. How about that?
That'll work fine.
All right.
I've got some cryptos myself. Got involved in it about 2 years ago. Ran it through the run. And have you ever thought that if we go to a crypto world, we're going to be going away from God, where they can take your birthday away?
Oh, you said going away from God, where they can take your birthday away?
Yes, sir.
I
got a number. You got to live up to that number.
Yeah, I've never looked at it that way, but I do believe we are being ushered into a cashless society, and it's becoming a accepted opportunity because a lot of people are excited about potential gains. But I don't know about that whole birthday aspect, but I do believe eventually 10 years from now, everybody's going to be excited or happy about being digital, and we will willingly give up our last little line of defense, which is cash, which is, all we have privacy-wise. So, but the birthday aspect, I don't know about that.
You're not going to be able to look at a man eyeball to eyeball and do business with him if you go crypto.
Yes.
And it eliminates your secrecy, your privacy, and a lot of things. I don't want to see us go crypto. I love making money off of cryptos. Don't get me wrong now. But I see the control factor that can be utilized.
Yeah.
And gold and silver are God's money.
True. I agree, 100%. So, and that's the catch.
But I can't get a Bitcoin ring. I've been looking for one, and I haven't been able to get a Bitcoin ring.
Yeah.
When I get one, I may be real enthusiastic about Bitcoin.
But how about this? I look at it as a early opportunity to take advantage of some of the potential gains that are coming, and utilize that to acquire more of what we know is sound and proven. And so for a lot of people, if you're and I mentioned this, no, I didn't. But one thing I was thinking about is the fact for those that are a little bit younger, we have a chance to actually be a part of something that we're going to be recipients of a lot of that long stored up money and energy from the baby boomer generation, that for those that are younger can take advantage of that, as well as those that are in the baby boomer generation. If they're involved in that, they're also going to be recipients of all this institutional stuff that's coming, that's being prepared right now. So being an early adopter, because it's still early, could pay off well to where you can probably sit a little heavier in the long run by being involved in this space earlier, if you are allocated and well informed on what you're doing, in my opinion.
Mike, it's the system I'm worried about.
Yeah, the system's coming to it. The system is crumbling and falling apart. Now the biggest thing is, once everything comes to an end and there's something that's new and fresh again, getting involved in that. Basically being able to allocate whatever you are able to store up into that new system, whatever it might be. Unfortunately, it might be all digital, but I don't think your metals will be of zero value at that point. They still will be precious and valuable in and of itself. So,
yeah. Well, I saw this as an early innovator. Like I said, I got in it 2 years ago, made my little bit of money and got out. There's going to be another shot. We're going to be able to make our money, but we're going to have to get out.
Yeah, I do agree.
That's the way I'm looking at it as an entrepreneur. I'm not looking at it as a hodler or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
It's an opportunity to make money, yes.
Yeah, very true.
But it's not a savior.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not. Definitely not at all. Definitely not at all. Like, I still believe that, these are all opportunities to basically acquire a little bit more energy that's going to be unleashed one way or another, because all this currency stuff is just energy that's been stored up. And so right now we're having problems trying to find out where to put it so that it can grow a little bit and expand. But this new industry is going to be interesting, but yet you need to store some in what is sound and proven and tested by time. Of course, there's metals. So we should be fine, my friend. But yet it's going to be uncomfortable just with all this adjustment, because this is all new territory we're experiencing. So it's going to be interesting along the way. But yeah,
I'm going to go with the flow. I love what you're doing, Mike.
Thank
you.
The
world of you.
I appreciate you.
And I'm going to let you go and let another talker come in. But again, this is a way to control us that isn't by God.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
See you later, brother.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
Sure. Bye.
Yeah, man. And that's it's a fine line. It's interesting. And, like always with time, we're going to find out by being able to look back. But yeah, who knows, man. But one thing I did want to mention that I didn't mention last night that I told myself, I asked one of you guys to remind me, but nobody did. But anyway, so one of the things that I thought about was, having studied, monetary history for quite a while now, seeing how we've been weaned down to solely digital for the most part with very little paper. I think about how the Federal Reserve Bank and the Federal Reserve Act came into existence, and how it stemmed from the whole Jekyll Island, the history aspect of the bankers getting together, coming up with a plan. And when it was originally rolled out, which was in the 1909, 1910 time frame is when all this kind of took place. As a result of 1907, the panic of 1907, which is a credit crunch, the banks called in all the loans and caused a global pandemic of just basically bankruptcies and bank closures and problems and stuff like that. So, they came out with the Aldrich bill, which was, a senator who was working along with the banks that came out with the Banking Federal Reserve Act that then ended up being rolled into what they call the Federal Reserve, and they gave it a fancy name. And so now, 105 years later, we know that it was all a scam that has drained our country at this point. But one thing that made me think about the similarities of this whole introduction of the blockchain is the fact that as a result of the panic of 1907, Congress and all the politicians said that we need to form a committee to look into how to solve this issue. Perhaps it's time to go to a central bank model where we can have one entity that can control the elasticity of credit and interest rates and things of that nature. And of course at that time it's all involved with gold. And so the Congress came up with the idea of forming a committee to look into a banking solution, which now we have the Federal Reserve Bank. But it was as a result of the 1907 panic that the subject matter came up. Now we're 100 and some years later. We just had the panic of 2009, i.e. the Great Recession of 08, 09 or whatever. But the same situation, a panic that caused a massive bank implosion, which came in the bailouts, QE, all the monetary policy implemented by the banks. But yet the what looks like to be a solution that is catching on is the blockchain, is crypto. So not only, did a banking crisis happen, but at the right time, the solution and what's getting everybody's attention happens to be, a digital form that is supposed to be a way for people to get away from being centrally controlled. And so I was thinking about the 1907 panic and the Great Recession of 08, 09, 100 years later, 110 years later. But the result was a central bank that now has drained our country dry. So that's 100 years of basically manipulating and stealing from the world by acquiring all these tangible goods and giving us paper or fiat currency backed by nothing. And so here we have, a Great Recession happened. Now the blockchain comes on the scene. And of course, everyone has their ideas and opinions where it came from, the NSA. Some people say Alan Greenspan wrote the code, all that stuff. But it's being positioned as a solution. So that right there had me to think that perhaps the whole blockchain situation was intentional. So that also plays into my skepticism when it comes to the blockchain, because it's very timely that after the panic of 2009, we have a solution, and it happens to be digital based, even more so of what we have already been a part of. So just something that I wanted to throw out there. And for those that caught that, if you have any thoughts or ideas, feel free to chime in on that, because I think they could be related. That's what really got me, wanting to share that with you guys. It says, let me see, I've been missing some chats here. As always, 833 Live RTD, call in. Love to hear your voice. It says, electronic theft is forever gone. Ponder this. So, Tom, what did you mean by that? I missed that one. Metals back up the math. Paper backs up nothing. No more cash. It's corruptible to ethical human behavior. 200% debt of GDP. What, let me see. I missed some things. It says, how about lifting the they can't work while on welfare law? Give people a better leg up and transition from welfare to work. There are a lot of things that could help. I do agree 100%. It says, read your hieroglyphics, catch up the Cowboys gold and win the West. I'm not sure about that one. It says, hey, Mike, do you believe that Lindsey Williams is a prophet of God or the elite? Jesse, very good question. I do believe that Lindsey Williams has good intentions, that he has been privileged to be associated with some individuals that are in the know. Now, I do question the whole idea of, do the elite or those, that label we give those that are behind the scenes calling the shots for our politicians as well as our overall economy. I do question as to whether or not they feel that it's, their obligation or their duty to let people in on this information, knowing that he's profiting off of, selling these DVDs or whatnot. And so my question is these contacts he have, are they really informing him from the sense of them having a heart and having some care about what they're doing, even though they are ruining the world and ruining people's lives? So I don't think that he's an honest messenger. I think that I'm questioning the people who's giving him his information. Are they really of the elite status, or are they hearing it through secondhand information like he's sharing it with us? So, but I do think I think he's a man of God and he's sharing information, and I will never question a man's spirituality. So his fruit his fruit should speak for himself. And thus far, he's helped a lot of people as far as become aware of this corrupted and chaotic world we're in. So, with that being the case, I think he's doing a good service. It says Brooklyn is turning into the 80s and 90s era heavy homelessness. Danny, yeah, man, like that's the thing. Like I don't doubt that's the thing. Like there's a lot more stories about homelessness that we are not going to hear about, period. And so, apart from those that are chiming in here, most people may not really pay attention to it. Like, I know, no doubt in my mind, Detroit has its areas or whatnot. I'm not familiar with those areas. I heard that right outside of downtown Detroit, it was pretty bad, but I haven't gone down there in quite a while to see. But of course, just hearing about homelessness and people located in downtown areas is bad for business. So it's good to say that they're, doing something about that. Pat says, Mike, here's your answer about the $100 bill. Says Google, what I have been afraid to blog. Okay, I'm about to Google that now and see what comes up. What I've been afraid to blog about the ESF and its history. What I've been afraid to blog, what I've been afraid of. Okay, thank you. I'm going to definitely check into that. I'm going to set that to the side. Appreciate you sharing that information with me. It says cryptos are a high-tech crook's wet dream. Yeah, so I've been hearing a lot about, I think I heard a lot about Japan and North Korea in the chat. I'm trying to see if I missed something. Fill me in. And then also someone mentioned that the Federal Reserve has a, meeting tomorrow if they're going to raise rates. And so we will see if they raise rates. I wouldn't doubt if they do. It says, let me pull up some, I'll pull up a couple articles on that. And it says, Fed seen keeping interest rates on hold Wednesday, but there's a lot of debate about it. Fed set to hold rates steady, remain on track, or for more hikes. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, when it came to the whole interest rate hike, You know, I think they're expected to get at least 2 more, supposedly, or something like that. But there's a lot of internal conflict because there's several Fed governors that are in disagreement. Are in disagreement with raising interest rates, and so they're having a lot of internal conflicts. So the Fed must raise, we're in a recession. What do we got here? Fed's bullet wants too many hike rates this year, and yeah. So I read an article somewhere, and they listed the name of a couple Fed board members that thought that it would be a bad idea to continue to raise rates. So if you don't raise them, they'll stay stagnant for a while everyone else around us, as far as the EU, the Japan, and all those other emerging, not emerging, but developed nations are forced to make decisions because they're trying to increase rates. So we'll see how this pans out, because I believe the Fed will be the first one to drop deep below negative rates. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
War Spade. Calling from North, bro.
That's good, my friend. Thanks for calling. What's your name? What's your name?
War Spade.
War Spade, okay.
In chat just a second ago. Yeah.
All right, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I mean, I won't go back to the universal income thing.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't think it's going to work, mostly because of the reasons that you said. People are going to work or not. And they'll just be getting a free check from probably the government. It's probably who's going to give it to them.
Yeah.
But let's just think about this though, because like people, if they have like a little bit of money that's given to them, and they don't get penalized if they work for anything extra or anything like that. So, it wouldn't necessarily hurt them, but yeah, there is a big question of who pays for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so based upon you utilize the word free. Initially free, and of course we all know that there's nothing really free in life. So what's given to somebody has to come from somewhere, and apart from the Federal Reserve, as part of their monetary policy after this correction that does take place, apart from them just adding $1 trillion or $2 trillion to their balance sheet, like they did to bail out the banks. If they bail out the public, then they're going to bring into existence how many ever trillion needed that's going to be implemented into our economy. And so then if you got a 1 or 2 trillion coming out of nowhere, it's going to be a problem on the streets with inflation. So it's not going to really solve anybody's problem, other than the fact that everything in your local store is going to be double or triple in price, which is going to still leave you with a pinch, because even if you're making $1,000, but you're going to spend $1,000 on just grocery bill type of thing. So there will be no win-win for universal basic income.
I mean, that's why you really shouldn't give it to just anybody,
So then how do you break it down? How do you, that's the thing, that's the tricky thing, because how do you allocate it? Do you give it to those who are of the lowest income level that, aren't contributing much and more than likely may not do much with that, or you can't give it to the rich because they don't need it? So that's the fine line.
You would probably have to give it to the lowest. Like the lowest of the low. Like the people that are chronically homeless, this, that, and the other thing, those types of people. Yeah. And, it might not be fair to the ones that bust their rumps and stuff like that, but I mean, it would help out with a lot of things, probably, like with crime or anything like that. I mean, but yeah, you couldn't just give it to anybody. You don't want to throw that much money into the system, but I mean, it's just like what welfare is right now. Except for you got those, well, if you get a job, well, we're going to kick you off of welfare. Well, maybe it shouldn't be like that. Yeah. And I heard that you kind of agreed with that earlier when you was going through the chat.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as the UBI, I think it's going to come, because it just seems like something that our government will do because of where we're at now, and implementing all the policies as far as Social Security, as well as all the Medicare, all these, all these expenditures that our government has made promises to pay out in the future. We see how those are doing right now. They're all underfunded, in the red, or or going to be very problematic right now. So I can imagine any type of solution that comes from DC will be of the same nature. It won't pan out it won't pan out good in the end. So yeah, we'll see.
But I mean, when it comes down to it all, I mean, I'm a veteran, so you know, I haven't actually worked since 2008, and I had to rely on like $600 a month, you know, VA disability. In a way, that's kind of like universal income. It kept me out of trouble. It kept a roof over my head, you know.
Yeah, but see, but you served, but you served, and you're receiving something that comes with serving. You can't. I mean, so imagine. So if I was in your position, I would feel cheated if the same person who didn't bother to even try to even get a job or bother to serve, they get the same amount, if not more than you, and they are not doing anything productive. They didn't sacrifice the way you sacrifice. So, you know, that right there would be like, okay, I feel cheated. I gave my life. I could have died for our country, but yet this person here.
You are speaking the truth. I mean, you are right, but I mean, I hate to go right here. I mean, but like people, you know, if they were giving the same, like, little bit, like $600 a month is like a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, that could actually improve somebody's life, allow them to, you know, go above and beyond and try to work or, you know, get some extra money or anything like that. But, you know, you couldn't do it for indefinitely or anything like that. I mean, but but a lot of the people that desperately need the stuff like that, you know, they're already getting like welfare and all this Social Security, disability benefits and stuff like that. And it's pretty much, it doesn't matter if you call it universal basic income or not. I mean, they're still getting something.
Yeah. Well, I do agree, my friend. So time will tell as always, but, you know, a universal basic handout is coming. So, yeah, get ready for it. And the question is, what will it buy you? It's going to end up being inflationary to where it's not going to buy much a year or 2 years from now because, you know, it's only a finite amount. There's only a finite amount of goods, and they can print an unlimited supply of digits and paper. So, won't be good in the long run, in my opinion. But thanks for calling in, my friend. Appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for your channel.
My pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, that's good, man. Like, nothing free will retain value long. So I just hung up on somebody. I apologize. Feel free to call back. Phone lines are open, so we'll go for a couple more minutes enjoying this. And so I'm seeing in the chat people talking about a handgun. Yeah, get a 360. Yeah. Time to start deporting all Chinese. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not about all that. I'm not saying like you will never ever hear me blame any group of people or whatever. I'm not into that because in my motto is that the underlying root of all this is evil. It's not a particular person. It is a much, you know, deeper force than that. So I don't blame any person of any color, skin, nationality, anything because it's not a person. It's the force behind them that's doing all that. So, yeah, we have a front row seat to see something that will be, like no other. We're in very interesting times. Very interesting times. Because this subject matter, like, you know, you guys are tuning in and you guys are chiming in your expertise and analysis on what's happening. And we're just, you know, covering based upon what we are already aware of. But yet there's so much stuff under the surface that we are not aware of or even able to handle. So it's interesting to see how things unfold as we get a little bit more light. You know, will we feel the same way a year from now? Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Braxton Russo calling from New Orleans.
Braxton from New Orleans. Thanks for calling, my friend. What's on your mind tonight?
Basically, Tony, I just wanted to share some of my ideas basically about the structure of once and after the collapse of the dollar actually happens. I think that
sounds good. Now, do me a favor. Can you speak a little louder because I have you all the way up here, but you're still kind of low.
Okay. Basically, what I'm saying is I think that the infrastructure of the banks, they should actually turn into pharmacies because that way you can actually utilize some of those banking functions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the ones that take your money and bring it to the teller through the suction and stuff. They can still use that for pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So basically the banks need to sell themselves out to the pharmaceutical companies because that's who actually make more money than the banks or the banking financial industry itself.
Yeah, but watch this. Okay, you say the pharmaceutical industry makes more revenue than the banks.
Yeah.
But the
That's the word. That's
but
the
watch
word.
this. But the banks are the one that the banks have a empty checkbook that they can use every day, all day, to bring in as much currency into existence as possible with a keyboard. So the banks in my opinion, the banks have the upper hand because they have the fractional reserve lending, which means that they can take $100 deposit from you and turn it into $1,000 like that. Pharmacies can't do that. Pharmacies got to have an actual product to push across the counter, whereas all the banks need is a computer. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I know for a fact that I don't use cash every day as if I used to use cash.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't even touch it as much.
Yeah.
So as long as I know where my prayers are going, I don't touch this money or just know this much. I gotta say, it's actually removing itself from my life. So if people continue to follow the light, they're gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
See, they're not gonna want to keep going to a bank because it sacrifices their anonymity,
yeah,
or anonymousness. It sacrifices their security. Because if I see a person keep going to the bank and I'm not even using the cash anymore, I'm gonna be like, well, that person's still using cash, so therefore he obviously has maybe a wisdom problem, So if they're still using cash and they have a wisdom problem, they're gonna become targets, not from people like me, but from people of their own kind that still use that form of currency.
Right. I do agree. And watch this. And this is I believe that as a part of this whole, experience that we're about to have with our economy coming up in the near future, I believe it will definitely cause a lot of people to rethink the whole banking model in general, because I'm a firm believer that if you are aware and open to alternative means of storing your wealth, technically a bank is already outdated. You really apart from having, your expenditures automatically deducted out of your account, what really would you need to store in there, considering it's all digits anyway? So
I don't need to store is the ledger activity.
Right, and so you don't even need a building for that, and that's where the whole blockchain comes in, because it's being positioned as an alternative and a solution to that. But then again, it's like, doesn't it seem like it can be too timely? Like that seems like a viable solution to what is a problem. But did you hear you catch me earlier when I mentioned about how after the panic of 1907, how the viable solution was to have a central bank to help with our economy. See what I'm saying? Like how that was a ideal timing to present the problem and solution. Now we have the problem and solution again. You see how that ties into each other?
Next time it repeated itself. You're right.
So it has me wondering, like, it's not a coincidence. Clearly, it's by design. And so seeing that, it's like, okay, I know that this is all a trap. This is all a big game. We're being set up for a slaughter through digital illusions of wealth continuously. But how can you take advantage of it? Because you can't avoid it. And so the only solution will be trying to figure out at what point do you get out of the digital world altogether and figure out a way to come up with something tangible.
You overcome it. How do you overcome it?
So that's
products that you need, relationships that you need.
Yeah, I do that.
That's all you really want to do is create products and relationships. You don't really need the currency as people want to touch, because that's just an outdated technological mind state of people. In the beginning when we wrote things out, that was the first form of transfer of information or data.
Yeah.
But now that the data and the speed and artificial intelligence has capitulated itself to where it doesn't need human handwritten data anymore, in order to keep up with the transaction speed of which the network is already operating, we have to modify or adapt our human interaction behaviors with technology.
Yeah, I do agree. And so whether we want to or not, we're going to be led in that direction as we are now. So it's just a matter of we will see 5 years from now if this movement into this digital blockchain crypto space is beneficial in the long term for privacy and just freedom, and will it create a bigger government? Because they're going to, of course, with more people supposedly getting all these gains, they're going to create a bigger government to monitor, keep track of, and big government always grows out of solutions that are presented to problems. So we will see, my friend. but thank you.
So what happens when? Okay, Tony. Yeah, thank you, Tony. Thank you for taking my call, man.
No problem. You had something else. I want you to finish up with your thought. What was that you gonna say?
Okay, well, I was just going to say, so what happens if the government is meant to protect our privacy from criminals?
Mm-hmm.
What happens once the government is hacked and it no longer can provide that service? We as people have to awaken and say, okay, they can't provide the service, but they're continually telling us that they can.
Yeah.
If presidential candidates can have their elections hacked and all of this, those securities compromised,
Mm-hmm.
what about the American citizen?
Oh yeah, man.
Don't you think they're you know what I mean? Like we are even that high up in the hierarchy of the social elite or the social class of the money system or the structure of it.
Yeah.
But if the people who are all the way up there can be hacked and can be hijacked out of their funds, where does that leave us in America? And they're our leaders.
Yeah, we're no better off than them. So that's for sure. We're gonna be right along them.
We have to continue to prosper through education and using education as an instructional measure into financial literacy to help no matter what job they do, no matter if it's a flipping burger job, they have to take a financial literacy class so that they don't have to always flip burgers. You know, we got away from that in America.
Yeah.
You know, we just got away from it.
Yeah, and one thing I also was talking about before you actually look into financial literacy, because financial literacy at the end of the day basically tells you what to do after you've already made a buck. Monetary awareness and monetary education tells you what a buck is, so that you're not solely dependent upon a cash buck type of even unit of account. So monetary awareness is what is the format we need before we get to financial literacy, because financial literacy is going to tell you to save some, spend some, and invest. And we've been doing that quite a long time now, and we see how people are turning out now, especially after this whole situation happened. So yeah, we need something a little bit more than financial literacy.
All about transactions, and at the end of the day, money was supposed to be a stored value for transactions,
Mm-hmm.
and it lost because of its technological defeats.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The speed of hand-to-hand transaction is not as fast as me clicking or analytical or haptic or digital revenue payout. You know, it's just not happening that fast. You know, these tech companies are willing to pay, technologically advanced, savvy users a lot more than the dollar can pay me to go use my hands and build something or create something, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, in a physical sense.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, we're getting away from tangible goods. That's why we're getting away from tangible money.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the future we're heading into. So so every man is on to educate himself and be prepared and take action and be well, in my opinion, be well allocated in a variety of things that can serve you well in the future. So, my man, thank you for calling. I appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you, Tony. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, be good.
Appreciate your show, man.
Thanks. Yeah, man, that's some real talk there. I love to have a variety of people share their perspectives and thoughts. And we have a question that says, Michael, people are passive investors. There are a difference with a educated investor. It says, Mike, people are passive investors. There are a difference with educated investors. Yeah, very true. I do agree 100%. Passive in the sense of sticking to the status quo of the conventional mainstream advice. That right there, I believe was challenged initially with the panic of 2009 or the Great Recession, and people are still utilizing that same information. And I think that's what's most dangerous, because everyone knows now that you don't really get a chance to earn interest on depositing funds in the bank. Only way you get cash back is when you spend it. So the idea that you have to spend now to earn, who would ever thought of that 10 plus years ago, that you wouldn't be able to save and you got to spend to get back. Like, that doesn't make sense, but no one questions it. Most people don't really mind. And you got a lot of people out there that buy into these commercials of celebrities with credit cards that say, you get 2.5% cash back after every purchase. And it's like you actually earning some money. But I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna leave that alone. But yeah, everybody, it's been fun, man. We're coming towards the end. I appreciate everybody chiming in and definitely sharing your thoughts. And as always, anyone around the country, wherever you're tuning in from, if you are able and you're aware, and if you feel led to, I would encourage you guys to take a picture for me of any homeless situation or anything that is newsworthy. Send it to me, or better yet, everyone should be joined the Rethinking the Dollar group page on Facebook, because I share a variety of things throughout the day there. And just to give you an idea, because every time I come across articles of any kind, I'm always sharing on there. And so it's a variety of good things coming up, man. So I would encourage you guys to, if you have not, jump on there and just hit the little like button and whatnot, and you guys will be informed when I post things and whatnot. So that's definitely something worth doing. It's taking a good time loading, but everybody get the idea. So I have a couple things here. Where we at over here? Steam it. Everybody should be on Steam it. It's free. It's the best way to be involved in crypto without spending a dollar. Steam it. Twitter, Facebook, as well as a free ebook I have. All that is below this video. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this, or a thumbs down if you didn't. Either way. Share this if you find it informative. I want to definitely get more people involved and get us all on the same page. I really believe and am excited to continue to grow the RTD community, because it gives us a chance to connect and just learn from each other and hear about what's happening that we won't hear about in the mainstream news. So everybody have a good evening, and I will see you later. Peace.